So, Umbra, I'm going right to you. You said something that's, I think, really cool. The announcement of the Helldivers 2 collaboration commercial with PlayStation leading the charge and Xbox, following at the back end of it. Having the Helldiver turn around and be in all of the Hell Jumpers gear is, I mean, it's goosebump inducing. Like, if you are a fan of gaming, right? And I'm not talking about console war. The console wars are going to be around forever. They're never going to go away. There's going to be people that are going to keep arguing and keep fighting. And listen, I was there. Umber was there. Jamie was there. We've all been there at one point or another. But I have come to the acceptance point of what the reality that gaming is. I'm not angry. I felt the type of way like most people, but it's the new reality. So, like anything, you can either accept it or you can leave the brand like we've seen some people do. And again, we don't do the names thing here because, everyone's entitled to feel how they feel. No one makes fun of anybody for that. Console, gaming is like, hey, people don't like when I say this. It's very like sports. Like, I don't like the Ravens. Now, I don't want to see Lamar get hurt or anything because he's a human being and I don't want to see anyone get hurt, and he's a damn good quarterback. But I can't freaking stand Harbaugh or the Ravens. But again, that's kind of Xbox versus PlayStation versus Xbox. That's how it is. But Umbra, if we take all of that and just throw it away, we say, you know what? We're just going to play a game. It doesn't matter who made it, how they made it, who collabed. It's a game. We all want to play it. It's incorporating Halo, one of your favorite things to talk about. A lot of people are over Halo, and I hear you if you are. I'm not over Halo. I'm just getting started, and I've been here since 2001.
Amen.
So I want more. This was a cool ass trailer, dude. Let's get your thoughts, man.
Yeah, boom. There's a lot of thoughts running through my head, man. The whole thought about, like you said, of things changing and people feeling a way about it, and the old Thanos thing comes to mind when he's like, dreaded, run from it. Destiny arrives all the same. And it was like, yeah, it's happening. Just accept it. It's a beautiful thing, man. And it's a lot of thoughts running through my head. One is, what a change we have seen and witnessed as gamers. Like you said, been here, we've been gaming since, as one of the old things is gaming since NES, right? Man, we've been playing since, some before that, ColecoVision and Atari and all that, right? So to come from that through the original console wars with Sony and Sega, Nintendo, to and now, of course, Sony and Xbox, and this has been going on for the better part of a decade. Like, to see this, it really kind of brings home the thought of the console war being over. Now, it's not quite over. If you've been paying attention to Twitter, some have still been fighting a good fight, but they're trying to hold on. But I think in general, the world has moved on without them in a way, and like, because gaming has become so has moved forward in such a way on accessibility and what we can do and what we can play and where we can play it. And Microsoft has been one of the publishers who have pushed that heavily. So we're starting to see that. We're starting to see this amalgamation, if you will, of properties, to see the Hell Jumpers and inside of ODS, the ODSTs rather, if you will, inside of Helldivers. It's just like, wow. For one, we already had the speculation with the music, and to hear that, the little jazzy.
It was a little jazzy, wasn't it?
It's special to see. So I looked into it a little bit. The Helldivers 2 X Halo ODST Legendary Warbound. It's about, and this might sound crazy to some. It's about $15 for that.
Dude, take my money right now.
They got mine already. I'm guaranteed. It's guaranteed. I have the game on Steam. I have it on PS5, and I'm going to have it on Xbox. the thing I found so funny, it says in the world of Helldivers, ODST stands for Obedient Democracy Support Troopers. I love it. I, I love it, man. Obedient. Hold on, I got it tagged here. Let me post this in here for the chat to see it. Obedient Democracy Support Troopers.
That is awesome.
I have to say, here it is. I just love seeing stuff like this, and it's some of the things we've all been calling for with Xbox with their properties to do. Like, hey, start bringing. Why aren't we seeing Doom guy and Armor and Halo? Why aren't we seeing Halo and Call of Duty?
Yeah,
Things of that nature. So to see something like this, this just feeds right into that for me. It's just some things we never thought we would really see, and like this is the beginning parts of that in my mind. So yeah, they got the Warbound. It's going to be like extra $15 to get the Warbound, maybe. I believe it rounds out to about. The thing is, with the way they work it in Helldivers, you can earn that in game to buy those things too. So you can do that. I don't know if it'll be the same for the Warbound here.
They're gonna get my money, bro.
They got me.
This is
I'm not earning anything. I'm paying for sure.
You know what? If I may add some context to what you're saying, you made mention of look what's on your screen, Call of Duty.
And yes, I did me Warbond. I'm sorry, I said Warbound.
Nah, it's all right. All right. Call of Duty for its wacky skins have been panned by many people. Jez Corden has been one of the more prominent journalists that have been outspoken. Of course, he's very excited for the return of the standard looking military men, man or woman. And that's awesome. I think there's a place for both to exist. I think Battlefield has a place, and I think Call of Duty. But just hearkening back to its collabs, they've had everything here from Beavis and Butthead to Claymation, right? But they haven't had Master Chief. They haven't had Locke. They haven't had Buck or anybody from ODST. They haven't had Doom Guy. And, again, if we're just keeping it Halo focused, I find that to be so odd because Xbox owns Activision. So this is one of those situations that I don't know if it changes for Black Ops 6 and maybe Black Ops 7. Maybe it does. But if I just may, suggest, and again, I don't get a dime from anybody outside of the generous people in the chat that drop a super chat or a channel membership. So what I'm saying is coming from the heart, honestly. If you want Master Chief, you want Buck, or you want Locke in the next Black Ops game, which is Black Ops 7 coming later this year, then go out and spend the money on this Helldivers crossover. Because it's going to, again, these corporations don't deal with your emotions. They deal in numbers. So if it sells, then there's a good chance that we could see. How dope would it be if the next big crossover is Helldivers in Call of Duty? How freaking awesome would that be? I can see that
armor's possibly popping up for sure.
Man.
Yeah, it's just beautiful, man. I love to see this just being real. And like I said, they got the Warbond. Thank you for that in the chat. With our Obedient Democracy Support Troopers. And we got the assault rifle popping up in here. Imagine seeing that in a PlayStation published game. We got the SMG, we got the Shotty, we got the SOCOM pistol. Oh man, remember I was talking about, I think last week when this popped up, and we're like, oh, this could be this. And we were talking about like I said, oh well, they could use the exosuit that we got in 4. Remember I said that they could use that and put it in here. Well, they didn't exactly put it in here, but they have a skin for it, and they have a skin for the Warthog-esque card. I mean, because you get a card that you can drive the FRV, and the shuttle and the Hell Pod we get. It's it's coated with ODST insignias, so it's kind of there. But I just love it, man. I love to see stuff like this. It gives me a lot of thoughts on in general. Like you say, one of the things I've complained about with Xbox is not using like you said, the characters they have to push their products. It's obvious that that's what you should be doing to me. 100%. Like you have all this goody, you have like a treasure trove of IP that would drive people to say, "Oh man, I want to play that now." Like, look at this. We're seeing this just with Helldivers, and it's like, yeah, I'm buying all of that. And it's like, you don't think we would do that for your other properties that you own? Of
Of
course we
course we
would.
would. Yeah.
Yeah. So Microsoft, get on the move. Stop the sterile kind of, oh, this can only be here. Like, no, stop that. Talk to each other as teams and work some stuff out for stuff that's cool. To me, I think one of the negative parts of Microsoft, I'm not trying to be a downer, but it's the fact that they have this kind of uniformity that they need to let go. Like, let that go. Have fun with what you do with your properties. I want to see, like, it's so much more that can be done with the Halo IP. It's insane to that Helldivers is even around, and Microsoft didn't have that happen. It was there. That's why we even talked about Hell Jumpers being inside of ODST, and rather being inside of Helldivers to begin with. Is because of that, and then eventually, lo and behold, it happens.
Yeah, man.
Microsoft is just a bit behind on that, when it comes to, I guess, pushing for. I don't want to say allowing for, because I don't think they would stop their developers if they wanted to do it. But it should be more promotion of that, in my opinion. But yeah, like I say, I'm super excited for this, and it gives me a lot of thoughts in general. I don't want to let you get Jamie to get a chance to get his bars out, and then I'll give you more of my thoughts on what this could mean, because there was speculation. If you all had heard, I believe Colton Mag talked about it as well, on the speculation that Microsoft may have paid a bit of a premium and changed their split for Sony games and such. Have you all heard about that?
Yes.
Okay.
The split is pretty high, which is why the conversation that's currently ongoing to bring Returnal over to Xbox has not been
Right.
approved, because obviously they're asking for a significant it's more than the standard 70-30 split, from what we understand.
Yeah.
Look, I'll be honest with you. I think that goes both ways, because what we don't know is if Microsoft originally asked for an 80-20 split for their games. Like, we don't know. We all just assumed that Forza Horizon is 70-30. Does anyone have documentation that says that? Because I know I don't. I don't have access to that. Maybe other
Right.
people do. That's awesome if you do. But again, this could be retaliatory. It could be like, hey, well, we're paying 80%, we're only getting 20 for, let's say, for instance, like Call of Duty. That was something that was enacted when Activision was on their own, right? It was an 80-20 split for both Xbox and PlayStation. So that's, from what I understand, that stayed in place. A lot of people are like, oh, it went back to 70-30. No, it didn't. Not as far as I know. So
Right.
this could be one of those situations where both companies are getting a little froggy, if you will, with, hey, if we're going to put our games there, not a problem, but we're getting more money. And I think ultimately, if one does it, you
Mhm.
can expect the other to do it. And I don't have a problem with that.
That, and also too, it's a lot of thoughts, because I talked with some of the fellas the other day about this, and like I said, I'll let you get to Jamie and his thoughts on this, and then we can expound on that, if you will, after that. But I got some thoughts on it. Yeah.
All right. Well, listen, Jamie, let's bring you in, because Jamie, you like this collaboration. You were all for it. You think it's cool at AF, and I think that it is. On back end of this conversation, folks, we're going to get into ultimately who wins when this kind of handshake behavior happens. Well, ultimately, the fans win. All of us, PlayStation fans and Xbox fans. Now, I leave Nintendo out, not because they're not worthy of the conversation, it's because the game that we're talking about isn't on their console yet. And I say that with a yet. I don't know. Can it run Helldivers 2? Who the heck knows? It probably could run it from the cloud. I don't know if that's the optimal way to play, but you know what? Stranger things have happened. But Jamie Moran, this is one of those things that if we were to talk about it, it would give me goosebumps, because I'm a big nerd like that, right? I like these kind of really, listen, as you know, I like to sit under my shady tree and smell my flowers like Ferdinand the Bull. I'm not into this drama nonsense. I don't get mad if people talk about me. It's just part of the business. I enjoy coming here every day and hanging out with this amazing chat and talking about video games. And that is, I'm so privileged to be able to do that. So I don't get upset with, with silly things. Some things aggravate me like everybody else. But this, Jamie, this is got to be one of the freaking coolest things I've seen all year. You know what I'm saying? Like it's a PlayStation commercial promoting an Xbox game with an Xbox IP. I mean, my God, does it get any better than this? Let's get your thoughts, man.
Before I get into what I think about the whole thing in general, I have to talk about the revenue split thing. I don't think that's actually happening. The thing is, it's a dangerous. You might set a dangerous precedent if you give one publisher favoritism.
I agree.
And if you look at Nintendo, like, can you really look at Nintendo as a business and think they would have accepted less money for Lego Horizon Adventures because it was
Probably
a PlayStation
not.
game?
No, they would.
Look, that I'm going to put it out there. I think Helldivers 2 looks great. I think a lot of Xbox fans are going to enjoy it. I'm going to pick it up, but you don't change your business model just for Helldivers 2. I like when I saw that, my jaw kind of hit the floor, because I just like I did business at college, and even though I wasn't like the number one student in class, this just doesn't make sense. I think that, if you're Sony and you're Microsoft, like, you put games on other platforms to make money, you have to incentivize that platform to make revenue as well. You don't just let them put the game on willy-nilly. So the whole changing the business model just for Sony, because then you'd have Square Enix say, why can't we have 2080? Why can't, you'll have Ubisoft.
It's a slippery slope for
sure. It's a slippery slope. That's why I don't believe it. It doesn't make any sense financially for either company. And let's be honest, it's unrealistic. Hey, Microsoft, so you see that fancy game we've got on our platform that we tout in all these trailers? We're going to put it on your platform, but only if you fund it and if we can take a higher revenue cut than other developers do on their games. That doesn't make sense. Like, because then you'd have every other platform asking, where's my cut this way? Why do I only get 70% instead of 80%? But, that's a topic for another day. I think this is cool. I've always wondered that in the video game space, we don't have a lot of cross-franchise, how shall I put it, marketing or cross-franchise, skins. Like, that's never made sense to me. I've always thought you should have, Halo stuff in Gears, and Gears stuff in Halo, and across the board. Like, I still talk about this every week with one of my friends. Like, I want N7 armor, Mass Effect armor in Call of Duty. Right?
Oh yeah.
I don't care how it gets done. I want it. Right? And I don't care about skins normally, but I want it. But I
You're
think
a big
cool.
fan, and it would incentivize you to play if you were a character or you had armor from the universe that you are a massive fan on.
Yeah.
What would you do? You would spend money. Like, this is a bit of a no-brainer. I don't understand. Let me tell you something. I have learned a lot of things from being a part of this business. And one of the things that drives me crazy specifically about Xbox, and I've gotten some inside baseball stuff. Now, most of it I'm not going to talk about because that's private conversations. But I can say I have heard some things that people are making big salaries and they're sitting on their effing hands. Like, they make some like moves. You're like, what? That wasn't, you didn't walk up to the front of the class and give this idea. What's wrong with you? So this doesn't surprise me. It's a bit frustrating, though, I will say.
And you could have imagine having had the N7 inside of Starfield or something like that.
Dude, that was I actually thought that was a given, bro.
Yeah.
EA is a monster corporation. They love nickel and dime the gamers. Why not? ask to do some sort of collaboration, because didn't Mass Effect actually start on an Xbox? Isn't it? Its inception,
Yeah.
entrenched in Xbox. Yeah, it is. I
Yeah.
don't know.
So stuff like that. I've always wondered like why companies don't do it more. If people remember, Final Fantasy 15 had a crossover with Assassin's Creed,
Yes.
right? That didn't make sense in the universe at all, but it was bloody cool. And I think it's cool that Helldivers is doing this with ODST, and it just shows that Microsoft and Sony, they can actually work together. It's not like it's not like they're like going at each other's throats all the time about everything. It's just a cool crossover, and I hope we see more of it. And it's kind of funny. And I saw this on Twitter before. We getting a Halo crossover with Helldivers before Killzone.
Crazy, right?
Crazy. It doesn't make any sense. And
Right.
Killzone would really suit that as well. But yeah, I'm all for this kind of stuff, and the skins look fantastic. I feel like sometimes if you do like cross franchise stuff, it doesn't always look that good. But the ODST stuff in here, it looked spot on, looked how you'd want it. And ever since we heard that smooth jazz last week, yeah, I think we all kind of saw it coming, and it's just nice to see it. Hopefully, this will incentivize Microsoft to maybe making an ODST 2 at some point, which is I want that more than anything. But yeah, I think this ODST stuff, it's good stuff.
It's funny you make mention of it about potentially, and Umbra, I'm going to bring you back in because I know you want to share some additional thoughts, but Jamie brings up a great point, because something like this and its success, because ultimately its success is going to equate to sales. And if people like you and me and Jamie and many people in this chat line up to buy this ODST, content pack, whether it be $10, $15, or even $20, it is going to generate a conversation where people are now going to start saying, well, you know what, this is great, but I would like to, you might see an uptick in people playing ODST. Like they're going to want to go back and see where these characters came from, right? And obviously there was no. I mean, the game looks better, but it's not a remake or a remaster of ODST. It's just up-res. I think that again, this is where we get into Bizarro world, ladies and gentlemen. And someone actually got really mad at me from the Xbox community, which we won't name names, but when I said last week that a Days Gone success on Xbox could actually generate Sony or invigorate Sony to make a sequel. People are like, well, that's just stupid, Boom. How could sales on one do for the other? Well, I mean, I'm not a business. I don't have a business degree, but if you have success on another platform of an old ass game, and you had the audience from PlayStation that really wanted it, we know that they wanted it because they were very outspoken about it. Now you have a Days Gone 2 audience both on PC and on PS5, and now you have an audience on Xbox. Again, this is all subjective because the game hasn't been announced for, but if it did, it could open the door. Well, this is the same thing. This is the same principle, Umbra. This actually could open the door for an ODST 2, but let's get your additional thoughts on this collab.
Yeah, it could open the door for that. And who knows? Arrowhead, as far as I understand, they're not owned by Sony, right? Is that the case?
No, as a matter of fact, and that's very interesting that you bring that up, because one of the big hubbubs about what happened with Arrowhead is after the Helldivers 2 success, they came out, and again, this is a bit of a pointed comment, so take it for what it's worth. And I've said this on the air before. The head of the studio did a tweet that kind of exploded. And he literally said, when you 100% fund your own game, you 100% make the decisions. Now, I thought that then that was a shot across the bow, because from what we all thought is that Arrowhead really wanted to have Helldivers on Xbox. And it turns out that, we did learn later on that PlayStation really pushed for it, and Helldivers Arrowhead Studios were like, okay, this is great, let's do it. And obviously they were helped with Nixus, and Nixus helped port it over. But again, it's one of those things, and I know that what you were alluding to, could they actually be working with Halo Studios to bring a new ODST? Now, it doesn't have to be like Helldivers. It could legitimately be a new ODST, but I like what you're putting down there.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, I thought you had something else to say. I was gonna say, yeah, and that's the thing, man. Like them being free and free agents, so to speak. Who knows? Maybe they could have their own take on ODST that goes forward, right? And maybe some input. I don't know. It's possible. I'm just throwing it out there. I also thought that because some of the rumors is that the new direction that Halo Studios is going, they have a lot of different different games coming from the Halo franchise, right? So different spin-offs, things like that, different takes of the world of Halo, the universe of Halo. So there's opportunities for them to even do something that's Helldiver-esque if they wanted to. There's opportunity for them to do more with ODST now that this will bring the ODST back further into the zeitgeist, as they would say. Like, this opens up the door, like, hey, you saw the popularity of that, right? Like, there's different things that can play off because of this. I was going to talk about the whole split situation because the rumor is that the Windows Store split, which is what, 88 to what is it, 88-12% split or something like that, or 90 to 10. I forgot what it was. I think it's at 88.
Yeah, it was either. Yeah, I heard 90-10. And again, it's a rumor, folks. We don't have the documents or the contracts in front of us. It is a bit egregious if it was 90-10, to be honest with you. And I don't know why Microsoft would agree to that, because they're not in a position where they absolutely need help from Sony. Sony is in a position where, I'm sorry, folks, this is not console warring. This is just read the room. Sony is in a position where, when you look at what has been sold on PlayStation this year, the best-selling game of the year is a 4-year-old racer. Who needs who more? It's not Xbox needing PlayStation. It's PlayStation needing Xbox. So if I was doing the business contracts, that's what I would lead with, personally. But again,
so the thing on it, though, is, this is how I see it, right? Because I was talking with the fellas, like I said, and the question came up, well, why would Microsoft do that if that's the case? Like, how does that serve them? And my thought was, well, the whole crawl before you walk situation comes to mind.
yes.
And PlayStation, we know, have been adverse to doing anything that would help Microsoft, right? Now, obviously, that would help Xbox. And having their IP on an Xbox platform, this is one of the last things they've ever wanted to do. Well, times have changed. Toki came in, and the winds of change came with them. And now it's like, hey, we might be might not be so adverse to having some of our stuff show up over there. That's why we're seeing these games pop up now, slowly but surely. And one of the ways Microsoft probably enticed them, because Microsoft led the way with all this, and I mean, from the whole PC push to everything else, Sony has followed suit. And people all thought, the whole, like, I highlighted a tweet from somebody I think it was, do you know the broke boy Will? And he was talking about how things have changed over the years, then and then now. And one of the things were like, oh, Microsoft, Xbox has to do that, go to PC, blah, blah, blah. And Sony wouldn't, blah, blah, blah. Well, Sony, well, of course, blah, blah, blah. But at least they're not putting their games on Xbox, right? Like, all these different things, because things continuously change. And now PlayStation sees the money that can be made by going to PC and having your games on multiple platforms. Their shareholders are not console warring. They want money. They don't give a damn about that. So my thinking is, Microsoft may, if this is true, like, if I just I'm making an argument for if this could be true on a 90-10 or the 88-12 split, that maybe this is Microsoft pitched that to them to say, hey, listen, you can get your games over here and cut out the middleman, right? And get ahead of this. because next gen, as we all know, Boom and Jamie, Microsoft is going to have access to Steam. They're going to have access to Epic. They're going to have access to GOG. If I buy your PlayStation game there, you're not getting another sale, right?
Yes.
That you're getting a split from what they give you, which is the the 70 split, and then those games I'll be able to play on my Xbox anyway. Now, people had I guess they had some type of, one of the copes I saw was, well, you won't be on Xbox itself though. Who cares? I'm playing it on my Xbox. What difference does it make at that point? You know what I mean? At that point, who cares? Well, you just not natively with Xbox. It's through, I don't care where it's from. Can my controller play it on my Xbox? Okay, so I'm playing it on my Xbox. All right, problem solved. So one of the ways for Sony to get around that, if you all remember, I mentioned they could make their own storefront where you buy from them, right? That's one of the thoughts I had. 2 was get ahead of it. Literally, I said they can get ahead of it and just sell the games on Xbox and just be done with it. And this could be that thing. This could be Microsoft setting, moving forward thinking, as they tend to do, and saying, listen, just get your games out here now. Start getting these games populated on Xbox. You'll get this split. You're getting more money, and you're cutting out the middleman of having people go through other storefronts to get it, and you get a bigger split this way. Just put your games over here and port them over here. And maybe they threw in a little bone. I mean, you got, some people tried to make light of it and was like, oh, well, Microsoft reached in their bags to pay for the port. If they did, who cares? I'm talking as a consumer here. Let's say they did.
Care what goes on in the
I don't give a damn.
Yeah.
I wouldn't give a damn. I couldn't give a damn less if Microsoft paid for them to port it over here. That does not affect me. Microsoft has enough money to buy me and sell me off, and all of us here in the chat, all of you too. with our wheel and against it. Like, I don't care what they do with their money to get this done, so long as it positively benefits me. And it does. Getting these games here where I don't have to get another platform, that is a W. Take the W. And I'm not going to be like, oh, well, they had to pay. I don't care. Do you think I care about? Why would I care about that? That's not my money. That doesn't do anything to me. So that should never be a point of contention for anyone, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree. 100%.
That's just my view, because I don't care that they have to pay more, or if they decided to do that to get the money. They have their whole little treasure trove of money that, for the budget for the Xbox, they're making money. They're making record numbers, as we saw from what they're as far as Xbox division.
That podcast yesterday really revealed a lot of information. We were going to cover it, but because I had it's been a day, folks. It really has. We're going to continue this conversation, and we're going to move into we are going to talk about it, but we're going to get into the hardware aspect of it. Mm-hmm. But you're not wrong. I think that it's very easy to fall into the trap of, us versus them, or them versus us conversation, which it's a thing, folks. It's an actual thing. I think that the lines have been blurred in a way where they'll never be. The console war, as you know it, is just never going to be the same. There are going to be people that refuse to relent. Like, again, we don't do the names thing here because, one, I ain't about that smoke because I don't need it in my life. But more importantly, that's not what we're here for. We're not here for drama. We're here to hang out and talk about video games. But the truth of the matter is there are people that will try and twist, and you've heard me say this before, the goalpost moving that I've seen with some of these console warriors is to a point where it's almost embarrassing, which is, again, why I don't name the names. I know a lot of people want me to be dark boom and get into it. Folks, I gotta be honest with you, I don't like it. I like being a good guy, and I just like talking about video games and having fun with it. But
yeah. And to your question, or one of the thoughts you threw out there was like, who won, right? Between, like, yes. If in that situation. Well, you said it earlier, and but like offhandedly, but yeah, you're right. We won as consumers, right? Yeah. Like, yeah, that we won, and that's why, like, the whole notion, because the reason that narrative comes about is it's just still stuck to the traditional, console war thought of, well, they had to do this. So like it's the argumentation means nothing to me as far as a consumer, because if your argument is, well, like if a PlayStation guy is like, well, Microsoft had to do this, and I'm like, I don't give a damn. That means they care about me as a gamer, as their consumer. Good. I do not care. I care so much as they did the right thing. Good. Do more of that. That's the type of stuff I like, Microsoft. Yes, show us that you're willing to pay to take care of your people on your platform by grabbing whatever means necessary to get these different IP onto your platform. I imagine seeing a God of War pop up. I'm not going to be like, well, they had to pay. I don't care. Do I have Kratos cracking skulls on my Xbox? Yes. Okay, good. I won. That's it. Anything else is, as a old commercial would say, is elementary, my dear. I don't care. You know what I mean?
That's good stuff. Oh my God, that's taking it back right there. All right, I love it. I love it. No, you know what? I mean, it's a great point of view to have. Jamie, any additional thoughts? And again, this is, you heard me say that I honestly, if you have to pick a company that won, right? If you have to pick a company and that's your shtick, I said it and I'm not ashamed to say it. I think Xbox has won the console war. And I'm not saying that as being a troll. I'm saying it, the numbers dictate so. Sony has dipped their toe into the waters that are already being swam in by Xbox, right? And the numbers that I'm talking about are simply as many games as Xbox has on PlayStation. All of those games, not some of them, all of those games are charting on a regular basis. And they're charting in a way that if you would have asked any of us 10 years ago if this was possible, we would have called you lunatics. And that's why Sony has done what they've done. Because Hiroki Totoki, who is the guy in charge of making sure that the shareholders are happy, well, it's a publicly traded company, Jamie. So again, if you have to pick a company, I think it's Xbox that won. Now, Sony will get there eventually, and I really do believe, and I've gotten pushback even from the Xbox crowd that don't believe that their games will chart as well as Xbox games. I honestly believe that. I believe that if you were to release Spider-Man, Days Gone, and let's just say the Uncharted collection, all three of those games would not only sell extremely well on Xbox, but they would chart in Xbox's own store. They would be in the top 10 most paid for games. Why? Because those freaking games are awesome. Sorry. I mean, I know that some people don't like them, and if you don't, I hear you, but that is the truth. And Sony will eventually get there at a slower pace, of course. But I do think that when you just take a step back and you kind of just wipe the board clean of the console war, ultimately we have won. Because there are going to be gamers in this chat right now, Jamie, that will never buy a PlayStation for one reason or another. Maybe it's console war. Maybe they've always been happy with Xbox. Maybe they can't afford it. Gaming's expensive, ladies and gentlemen, but the fact that they don't have to buy another console to play a game that they really wanted is why PlayStation gamers, not the trolls, the actual PlayStation gamers that just want to play good games, why do you think there are 6 of the top 10 games in their store being bought by PlayStation players? Because the trolls won't buy the games because they want to keep fighting the good fight. I hear you. You want to fight that fight. But the PlayStation players, which is considered the normies, right? The casual audience, they just want to play good games, and they're buying these games in droves. I think that same audience they could find on Xbox. Well, let's get your thoughts on who you actually thought or think won the console war.
I mean, financially, it's Microsoft, but
yes.
in the end, gamers win. And the funny thing is, Microsoft, they set trends and they get hate for it at the beginning, but they end up being right. if you go back a year ago when Microsoft started leaning into the multi-platform stuff, can you remember everyone's Twitter feeds? The end is nigh, the sky is falling, cats and dogs living together, crazy time. People declaring on Twitter that they are selling their Xbox, screwed their library of hundreds of games. They're going to declare on social media like other people should care. And act like they're announcing something at a bloody airport, right? But for the past year, we've heard, it's the end of Xbox. Oh, this game's going to skip Xbox. Oh, what if these third-party games skip Xbox? Meanwhile, major third-party games don't get announced for the Switch too, and people just move on with the rest of the day.
Great point of view, sir.
But when it comes to like the PlayStation thing, the second they start doing the multi-platform thing, notice that people from the media, notice that the people that do clickbait, they didn't do the whole, it's the end of PlayStation. Oh, I'm going to sell my PlayStation. I'm going to post a picture on Twitter of me selling my PlayStation and cry about it on social media. They didn't do that. They said, oh, well, we all get to play it together now. It's fantastic. Look, rainbows in the sky. We've all got chocolate kisses, right? It's the same thing, but Sony's doing it and it's okay now. The truth is, it's always been bloody fine. Maybe I'm just getting really tired of the console war stuff online because, I'm an Xbox fan, so I've clearly been in the trenches just by existing for the past 20 years. But like, it's just tiring at this point. Like, it really is. Like who cares? Put Spider-Man on an Xbox. I don't care. Put Halo on a Switch. I just don't care. Just let me play, right? I say all the time, people cry on social media about how, like, it's going to be the end of Xbox because, this multi-platform stuff means they're going to sell less consoles. Like, these consoles cost billions of dollars to R&D. Why the hell would they invest billions in a new console if they were just going to back out, in a year's time? And just be done with it. Microsoft likes money. They aren't going to spend billions on hardware that they're just going to ditch straight away, right? This isn't like the Windows 8 tablets, which they just shelved, right? Because that part of the business wasn't making money. Xbox is, So, like, when it comes to, like, who's won, like, the gamers have won, but Microsoft, like, as much as they are money hungry, but at the end of the day, they would not be investing more in Xbox if they didn't see, profit in the end, right? So, like, we have to get off the whole, like, it's the end of Xbox because of multi-platform thing. Like, who cares? Do you know, like, last year when Microsoft announced that Indiana Jones was going to PlayStation, it was utter pandemonium. People lost their minds. And do you know what happened in that same hour? Lego Horizon Adventures was announced for the Switch. Nobody batted an eye, right? Yeah,
Nope.
Well, people could say, it's a family game, it's a Lego game. No, it doesn't matter what it is. We have to stop, like, labeling things saying, this is okay because that happens, like I'm just tired of it, right? Sony gets a pass for anything Microsoft does, right? Microsoft is held to a higher standard. That's how it's been.
Yep.
That's how it's always been. And that's how it's always going to be. And, like, look, we talked about multi-platform stuff. Helldivers is on Xbox in like a week and a half or whatever, right? Everyone is fine with multi-platform stuff now. But if you go back a year ago, like, anytime I made a post online about upcoming games coming to Xbox, right? Here's some screenshots, trailers, videos, GIFs, whatever. People were like, no, I'm done spending money on my Xbox because, they go on third party. But Sony does the exact same bloody thing, and I don't see any of that talk.
Yeah.
Clearly today I sound frustrated. It's hot and, it really annoys me. But, like, people just have to stop arguing about this stuff. It's tiresome, But anyway, Microsoft, Sony, they're both going to make a crap ton of money off this Helldivers 2 stuff. And the same thing will happen with Spider-Man or Days Gone, whatever comes over in the future.
Well, it's going to be very interesting to when that happens because ultimately, we see the narratives, we see the conversations about, well, it's only multiplayer, it's only gas games, it's only games as a service, all this other nonsense. I saw one specific point where it was said that if What's the game that's supposed to be coming next? I talked about yesterday. Oh my God, it's been the day, folks. I'm
Returnal.
sorry. Returnal. Thank you. That when Returnal came out on PlayStation, they weren't owned by PlayStation, so this
always the
doesn't
goalpost.
count.
Yeah.
And I'm just saying that, like that's wow, man. That's some real gymnastics right there. Again, no names because we know we don't want to embarrass anybody, but yeah, that's
well, technically
they weren't really owned. So just
Right.
like Kojima's game, because it was 505 and it was I can't.
505 published it, not Sony Publishing. So therefore,
therefore you're wrong. Boom.
Yeah.
It's